Honestly, the amount of the so-called lounge, the so-called indoors on jive out there, like they're expressing the kind of depression that we are going through as a generation.
Good day to everyone. Welcome to podcast at HoUseOfAposTle with Umlungisi. This is ReaLTalk with Umlungisi Mtungwa and Uxolani Ngqolowa, my co-host.
Good day, everyone. Uxolani Ngqolowa here.
Today's talk is all about child trauma, childhood trauma. It's all about trauma, how childhood trauma affects health across lifetime. Stay tuned. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Engage with us via comments. Follow us Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. So today's topic: childhood trauma.
Yeah.
Can we define first what is trauma? Yeah.
I think before we define it into another must say, man, today's topic it's not like any other topic. It's a very sensitive and difficult one because here's Kulumang into that almost everyone goes through.
Almost everyone.
Yeah, almost everyone. In fact,
Sure.
we can say everyone goes through it at their stages. It's shot differently. So we won't be talking as expect. We may be wrong somewhere, we may be right, but hopefully we'll also apply our perspective, Nati, and you will enjoy it at home. Thank you. Must get a good definition, boy.
What is trauma?
Yeah.
Trauma is a very scary and life-threatening experience.
Yes.
Normally, it might be an experience at first hand,
Sure.
or witness what happened to your loved ones or family.
Yeah.
Can be repeatedly abuse or violence experienced.
Yeah, sure.
So basically, we have examples of traumas like abuse mentally, physically, emotionally, sexually, and serious neglect. Then out of all those examples, I think they are the ones that mostly we experience about serious medical procedure, about traumatic loss. So basically, sometimes we as people think that we've overcome trauma, only to find out that as time goes by, that's where it exhibits itself to a point whereby it comes through via our behavior. You see people acting in a different behavior. Then it sometimes, according to experts, it shows that people normally experience trauma. So trauma comes through experiences, and normally it builds up to different kinds of behaviors.
Yeah. It actually, I agree with your example. Just to also give not a different definition, but the same, in fact, but just in different ways. The way Nami, I had decided to put it.
Sure.
A trauma, to me, it's more like a terrifying event that takes place in your childhood, and you struggle to cope with it. Yeah, so we are actually in agreement on, in fact, even the examples that you put.
Sure.
Yeah, but it also covers. Yeah.
Sure. So basically, I'd like us to maybe dwell a bit. My examples, let's say abuse, for example, because mostly it starts from abuse. People experience abuse emotionally, physically, mentally, and sexually via from endlini.
Yeah.
You understand?
So these are the examples that maybe we are used to.
Yeah.
Actually, there are so many kinds of traumatic experiences. There are so many, but then we will take and we will deal with the common ones, or the ones that we know.
Sure.
You understand? Yeah, like abuse.
Sure.
For a start.
So normally abuse uthola ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi sisekhaya, and then masekhaya uthola ukuthi mhlawumbe umama nobaba abana kuzwana ukukhona.
Sure.
Then you experience the tukulana lento, it becomes trauma, but you don't actually pick it up because now usasemncane. As soon as you grow up, now your attitude, your behavior normally changes because of your upbringing. So sometimes uthola ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi umuntu ba a victim of rape from one of his relatives, and then ukhula nalento leyo which de-attached yena nefamily yakhe. And then sometimes uthola ukuthi it's becoming mentally uthola ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi kunamazwi okungukuthi bakusalisa ngawe emuva angekho right, angekho mnandi, which at the end of the day agcina so uphila leyo nto leyo yalawo mazwi lawo pure wona. Sometimes it can be indaba yani being a victim of crime. Let's say for example useke sendike natshontshelwa, sendike na-attackwa, ungenelwe endlini, the lento leyo it becomes into ekungukuthi yaphila, you living in you're not living in fear. So there's quite a long, even bullying sometimes uthola ukuthi from, because normally bullying yenzakala kakhulu from mama friends, uthola ukuthi manje awusaphili kamnandi, there's too much bullying. Mawuthuthu ngapha ibullying, mawuthuthi ngapha bullying, which end up igenza ukuthi change the way wena ungakhona.
Donna, remember we are seeing here, this is a childhood trauma. So these are the experiences that you might experience at a very young age. As you grow, you are thinking that so it's not going to be that much. Most of us, we have that problem of thinking that just because I experienced something at a very young age, therefore as I'm growing up, or it's not going to affect me. Actually, we have that problem, especially as a black community. We are not yet open to this thing in trauma. We are thinking, sometimes it's cooler. Cooler. I know it's nothing.
Uzoba
right. You understand? But not knowing that actually this is something that will shape your behavior.
Sure.
I mean, imagine umuntu who grew up in an abusive home.
Sure.
You understand? Then we shouldn't be surprised why Msega Kula and I, then that person starts assaulting some partner yake. It can either go with a male or a female, but he abused when I want to experience abuse at home at a young age. There's a way that it might come back if you've never dealt with it.
Sure. And sometimes it might be maybe a traumatic loss, maybe ulahlekelwe umzali. You understand? So you grew up not coping. Sometimes it might be medical procedures. Let's say, for example, you get infected with a disease of which it lives through you. Maybe let's say, for example, cancer. Then that your life actually it's becoming limited as time goes by. So those experiences are very painful and shameful experiences that normally dim and shapes behavior and how we treat life, the way ingakon. So we end up this thing that is called anger. You understand?
It brings effect to so many things. Understand? Abuse, man. It's a very serious phenomenon that we actually undermine, man. Like I think it's only in this life, in this current generation, that we can see effect why. Because now we're living in times of gender-based violence. Understand? Now we wonder, where do these things come from? Understand? These are traumatic experiences that our brothers and sisters experienced in their young stages in their lives. Mainly at home. Remember, abuse can take place not just at home only. Even you can be bullied by friends, you can be bullied eskolweni. Understand? Others they are even abused in the same zine. Do you understand? You will find that our parents during apartheid, they went through a serious abuse through the system of apartheid. Now when they got home, of course, to understand, a man has been undermined there at work. Now ukipele engayakhe la family yakhe, then that thing passes on to generation to generations.
True.
You understand?
True.
Then iba a serious thing that people are finding it hard. It creates a certain behavior within a family, in fact.
Even poverty,
Yeah.
it does go through a stage of a trauma.
Sure.
Because now you're now living for survival. So for the rest of your life, mentally, you must live for survival, and then you end up taking wrong decisions at the end of the day. Ezigcina zenza ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi abanye bazithole sebasejele bangazimisela. You understand? Abanye uthola ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi umuntu sekaphanda or hustling ngendlela wrong just for survival. So everything ayenza is just for survival. So there's no meaning to life.
Yeah.
So everything ayenza now it's only about survival. As long as survive,
you understand? Noma ungayenza noma yini.
Kungukuthi into iqala ekhaya mhlawumbe uthola ukuthi ekhaya mfethu kisahlupheka kunzima ku rough.
Yeah.
So umuntu nomuntu uyazibonela ukuthi enhle kuphuma kanjani. So that thing also creates a trauma.
Yeah.
To a point whereby awusaphila impilo yakho, you're no longer living your life to its best. You're now living for survival.
In fact, you can say into poverty now it is a traumatic experience. I mean you also show a fear of being poor.
Sure.
To a point where you are willing to do anything.
Sure.
Understand? You'll see our sisters end up going to prostitution. You'll see our brothers end up going to crime because they just don't want to experience the poverty that they've can be experienced their young stages in their lives. Understand? Or maybe we're going to ask a car, for us to survive. So that fear of being poor and of being hungry, to look into I want to drive you to do all these things. And as they do that, they forget that they're also bringing trauma to other people that they are doing all these bad things too. Yeah.
Sometimes must go deeper.
Sure.
The way maybe parents used to react through punishment. Mhlawumbe uthola ukuthi uyashaya wendlini.
Yeah.
But ushawa inengemene enyinzima. Ekenza ukuthi at the end of the day you become very fearful. In everything you do, you have fear because now once you do a mistake, then uzohlangabezana nenduku. So that things sometimes create create trauma because uthola umuntu makakhula unaleyo nto leyo. Yabona unaleyo neenga le ibakhona ukuthi nengikhuliswe kanje. Actually it's abuse. Right, because it's no longer punishment, it falls to abuse. And sometimes you told Guti, these things, let's say trauma, they impact they have impacts on childhood, on children, then they have impacts on parents. Normally there's this thing called a post-traumatic disorder. That's an experience whereby you can no longer heal on something. But instead, it grows more and lives long.
Wait, is it that you can no longer heal, or it has grown in you, that it has shaped in a way the kind of person that you become?
Sure.
Yeah.
And it's difficult for you to heal through that. Because sometimes you talk to maybe family members, but they don't take it serious. They don't take it into consideration. To a point where by igcina ikwenza ukuthi na ungasabi nendaba.
Sometimes uza athi umuntu mhlambe anke lang rape.
Sure.
Khawuze bathi hayi no man masivaleni singayebona. Ungakhulunywa nje ngayo while wena the victim. This thing stays with you. Ilebele kudla, ilebele ikshape.
Every time you see that guy,
it's difficult to cope. Understand?
Every time you see that guy, lento le yavo shuthi isilonde sizivuselela. Understand? Then sometimes you go through depression, anxiety. Ugcina iskela awusapush it up. Gcina empilweni awusapushisha up. Everything you see from your life, from your sphere becomes negative because now impilo yakho it's surrounded by negativity. And then sometimes uthola ukuthi abanye ama parents mhlambi yaba impacta ngendlela ukuthi they feel shame and guilt. Sometimes they're uncertain of what to do or what to say. Sometimes depression, they are anxious. So it becomes difficult even for parents because normally parents bobona they do have a trauma but they don't know how to deal with it. And then as soon as I say now you become traumatic to a point where by they can't do so much because now they're suffering from the same thing you're suffering from.
And then once you build leyo anger inside you, once you build that depression inside you, it affects you almost in all aspects in your life. To understand? Yakula, you want all kind of diseases. Like you are also a victim, a victim of a stroke. That's even socially, the way you relate with other people. To understand? So depending which but once you experience a depression and anger as you grow with it. It affects almost every aspect.
Even when it comes to our behavior, maybe sometimes so coolly, then self validation actually from people. You understand? You always trust when you think so that you can't trust. You think that validation or whatever. Abanye bakijimela to social media whereby umuntu kuza be sharp sharp ngama likes.
Remember these are the people who went through verbal abuse. Maybe at home or verbal abuse, maybe through friends or through community. It could be anyone. To understand? Maybe these are the people who have been told all their life that look when a man you're not worth this. You look when a man you don't look the part. To understand? So that person took my shower in low self-esteem. So obviously, for the person to feel relevant, they need other people to validate them. I mean, it doesn't make sense to but it does happen. It does happen.
Uthola nangesinye isikhathi mhlambe kuba nesimo sokuthi umuntu becomes overprotective of themselves to a point where ngesinye isikhathi umuntu maka overprotective wenzani she or he feels like yonke into enhleke enzwayo or everyone who does something to him or her will do it as for previously experienced a situation. Let's say, for example, mhlambu uhethe umuntu, you understand? Or let's say, for example, abantu basekhaya bakuzosubuhlungu, so we end up not trusting anyone. You understand? To a point whereby noma une problem, you don't normally take lead. You understand? You just round it away because now nalento ukuthi you're overprotective. So everything you do it for your protection. Leader ukuthi ugcina wenze njani ugcina ukuthi ulahlekelwe happiness awusakhona experience happiness because now you overprotective. Everything oyenzayo ugada abantu umuntu makavela awumthembi lozenzana and uthola ukuthi sometimes omunye umuntu akekho lapho but wena because now nalento efear ukuthi ngazi usubuhlungu. And let's say for example intombazana ya rape umuntu osilisa a male of already I trust every male. You understand? To a point where by leader ukuthi noma ngathi ufuna ukucala in a relationship she can't because she doesn't trust men.
Already just because it's a man so can paint a bed. Twana like sikhuluma ngezinto ezibalekile la like depression, low self-esteem. We are living twana let me just say we are a generation that lives in reality. We are a generation that I usually say we are not a strong generation. You understand? We are not a strong. We are not like our parents. Those people enjoyed hardship that was very serious from apartheid, abuse. They went through serious traumatic experiences, but we can debate whether they were strong enough to enjoy that. But Tina, let us be honest. Tina, we're a generation that it is not strong enough.
Sure.
To understand, not that we need to be strong, like to keep things inside us.
But don't you
we need
think?
to find ways.
Don't you think sometimes it's not because we're not strong enough, but we're not raising to be strong enough? Let's say, for example, Abbas Albert, they grew out of a trauma, so they don't want us to pass through that to a point whereby even
like our parents, man. Others they think this thing is normal.
Sure.
Like lento yokushaya umuzumzalathi ngikhule kushawa nami ngizokushaya in a way. You understand? Sometimes they don't understand that in this nowadays talking to a child is also an option of disciplining a child. So tholo munye uthi mina ngikhule ngishawa nami ngiyashaya. Understand? Kanti they are actually perpetuating those traumatic experiences.
But bengi beya ngale angle yokuthi you haven't seen a part whereby uthola maybe your parents were being beaten strongly to a point whereby akasakhulisi kahle sekakhulisa in a form yokuthi ne uzokhulisa but she's gonna spoil you. You understand? Then as soon as expolia akasakhulisi in a healthy way to a point where masokhula we understand. You have no control. Ukubona machita khule kwa cheese boy. Now aphi minyawuphi. You understand? It's because abazange bakho and to bring a better
to
version of parenting.
Person,
you understand? Only to find out ukuthi it's a wrong remedy also.
It's a wrong remedy.
You understand? I think sometimes iyela ukuthi actually how do parents deal with trauma so that it cannot affect their children or their kids.
And then I wanted to say, actually, Mankuluma, us not being a strong a generation, we are a generation that in Dwana has taken all these traumatic experiences from Zaboko to Sisters Abazalbi. Now it's a point where we cannot hold them back. To understand, we cannot enjoy them, we cannot keep them inside us. To understand. All those, we usually call them generational cases, but I prefer the word generational traumas. To understand, they come in different ways. To understand, for example, to understand, then it passes on to no mama, no baba, nai. It's the same thing. Now, when we are living in a difficult time where gender-based violence, like it's all over social media, people are talking against it. But you find yourself in a situation where you're with your partner and you find yourself doing the very same thing. To understand? Unfortunately, we're a generation that is not holding back. That is why you will find depression now. It's starting to be common in our townships. Suicide in one. It's very much common these days. Do you understand?
Suicide.
Suicide. Young child. I don't believe no muntu actually ever thought to see no mina indlela engizofa ngayo it's through ukuzibulala. Do you understand? Kusuke kuwama experiences the person has went through. You understand? I don't know. I may be wrong. My generalizing may be wrong, but I'm thinking this is the generation that is committing a lot of suicide because they cannot handle these things. Like
it's too much.
Influence is just all over, and imagine it's clashing.
But I think sometimes there's no help there.
There's no help, sure.
And sometimes you're not fully informed. When it comes to maybe let's say professional help when it comes to trauma. You understand to your family members only to find out that you go to your friends, close friends, you don't get low season. Then you end up doing what? That's where
because you don't see a way out now. You don't see a way out. So the only way out is just to give my life.
And then sometimes if it's trauma not to trauma can cause a blackout. You understand? To a point where umuntu uthola ukuthi a memory yakhe is Spanish up. Because now in his brain this these events the experiences they're ringing in his head or her head to a point whereby when it comes to memory doesn't understand anything or doesn't even remember anything to a point whereby he gets to be imbalanced in life. Because now your brain, it's instead of in full capacity, it becomes in a low. You understand?
Yeah, sure.
And then it ends up it affect our scalar. For example, because now scalar there is traumatic events. Let's say, for example, you teacher you understand? Maungene classini sekho that things to concentrate because already ucabanga induku so ubhekane nenduku to a point where uthola ukuthi omunye umuntu sekunzima ukuthi anga infila noma angafaka i-memory
even bullying now it's very serious.
True.
It's very serious where uthola umntana sekunzima nokuthi ayisikolweni understand because kunzima nokufocus because the only thing that I'm thinking about is that bully ukuthi sanekusasa ngiyavuka konje lo muntu lona uzongiphinda futhi
so geleza kabuhlungu
understand ukuthi you are no longer there in your full capacity to say okay now I'm learning, I want to pass. You'll end up performing bad because of those little things that we undermine. Understand umuntu every time uzovela wena mhlawumbe ukuthathela imali or decide I don't know based on how I'm doing even nalento yomalanzana sometimes it can create a very serious traumatic experience because remember ulanzana bathini
roast
remember that thing intwana we don't react to it the same. You understand? You don't react to it the same. So ukuthi because ezinye izinto zona ziba very personal. Ngeke umuntu akulanze nje ngento ukuthi hayi
kulanza ngento phila.
Ukutshela kahle ukuthi look khona lekhanda likhulu. You understand? Hey, like you will grow up to thinking that vele mina ngine headache and njengoba ngine headache should kahle there's something wrong with me. And then you'll grow up with that thing thinking that there's a problem with you. Hey, you understand? Hey, and this thing yakushaya even in life because uzokushaya kuyenzela enga ikenzela I don't know you end up
I think it's body shaming. Actually it's not roasting, it's body shaming.
You understand? Like should I wena bheka ume kanjani. You understand? Ikushaya twana to a point where kawathi confidence yakho man to do things.
So ugcina senze
next.
Ugcina senze izinto ezirong.
Ugcina senze izinto ezirong because awusakhona na should manje now maqala usibheka ma uyabona ukuthi maybe there's something wrong with me ngempela.
Shama medical procedure nzima.
Do you understand?
So ufuna manje hip lakho lume ngenye indlela.
Because now you are trying to be relevant, you are trying to fit in.
I think that's why ifakela indaba lezi zaboma bleacher uthola umuntu ableachile because umuntu akekho comfortable neskin sakhe.
So zonke lezo lezi ama traumatic experience people went through maybe at a young age where a person was told ukuthi wena ngazositshela wena mnyamana. Understand now we usually undermine those concepts.
And it's cooler now. Cooler now. And abanye uthola ukuthi ngesinye isikhathi they get exposed kuma drugs and alcohol lento le ukuba excessive through alcohol because this thing irana through him. So for yena ukuthi athole validation esharp ukuthi abe drugged or athole plug, then that's where aqala ke yakhona ukuphakamisa confidence yakhe because on her plug
ntwana nhle uyifaka ngenye indlela le alcohol and the drug abuse because really bengifuna sikhulume ngayo as an effect na a traumatic child
angithi uyahila mfethu mawushayile la uyakhola.
No, like you see, Donna, when I said we are a generation that is going through the most, that is showing that look, we are depressed. You understand? Really, the excessive use of alcohol.
We're carrying a burden in Bazali.
Which we are carrying a serious burden from a year to 8. In fact, you understand? And to be honest, the amount of the so-called lounge, the so-called indoors jive out there, like they are expressing the kind of depression that we are going through as a generation because we're drinking there. We're a generation that drinks a lot. We're a
Actually,
generation that
one
use
of the
drugs.
top countries that drinks a lot.
Yeah, and lento le akusumdlalo. These things we can take it like to say, no, same improving. We just want to have fun.
Sure.
Kanti, that is where actually we are expressing. That is where actually we are showing how traumatic and how depressed and how angry we are with our lives, that we went through a lot. So being there, it makes us feel better, because it's not good, man, to see
and sometimes
young people like this consuming alcohol in this. What causes it? What happened in the past? Why is we think that by going on Kuruven so have fun, it's just all about fun. Is it really all about fun?
Isn't it healing? People are trying to forget their
People are trying to forget. People are trying to forget. Do you understand? So we should question this thing. Is it really all about fun?
Sure.
Or are we trying to heal now? Whatever that you are going through.
Sure.
Drinking so much, is it really all about just drinking and having fun?
I think
we try to forget something.
Generation Yamanje, we have so much pressure.
We
have so much pressure.
It's very difficult.
To a point whereby Nabazal Bako, they pressure you more. Yeah. So upeti pedi niabo plus the pressure ipuma kubo. Now ne pressure yakho, you need to push izinto zakho. You understand? Only to found out ukuthi abanye education nabo iba pressure, because umuntu uyafunda maqeda ukufunda akusena span.
Like yes one. Ziba mazihlanganele zonke lezi zinto lezi. I mean, we grew up thinking that okay, monga iskela, for example.
Sure.
But we're a generation that after Scala, after varsity, we have qualifications. But you cannot find employment.
I told for God.
Understand? Like obvious, this thing causes depression, it causes the anger. You understand?
And the easiest way
the easiest
your khas.
You khas. You get involved in drugs.
Sure.
You understand? Yeah. You spoke earlier about which is boy. Do you understand? They've done like they think that they're doing all the right things, but sometimes does not become satisfied. Umuntu yabona ukuthi azini ngolo ngisibhemele once, at least mangibhemile angicabanga into eziningi, ngiyakhona ukuzirelaxela. Qala kuyinto encane boy. Qala coping mechanism encane, but it becomes addictive. It becomes very addictive. Le alcohol and the drug abuse. This one, Bafetu, I think it's going to require a whole topic on its own, because
I think we should highlight that.
We are a generation that drinks a lot, man. We should talk about this thing, alcohol. Sabtand Joala, man. And it's our time, and it's not only about fun. You understand?
There's a deeper part.
There's a deeper. That's what we're trying to run away from.
Sure.
What happened to you? What happened to you? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I think sometimes it's getting yourself attracted to unhealthy relationships.
Sure.
Yeah, let's say for example, ukhule ubona umadala shaya umagrace. You understand? Then when I as a victim, masophumile lapho. So uhlangana nabantu abanjalo, mhlawumbe uthola umuntu sekathi ndoda mina azingijwayela ukushaya.
Yeah.
In a relationship that.
In fact intwana enye example lekumele sike sikhulume ngakuthi sometimes we meet female partners who also now want to be. They want to be assaulted for them to feel good. This is a correct kind of a relationship.
True.
Not just it comes just from men only. Okay, mostly it can be that, but let us be honest as well. There are ladies who only feel
you're not a man enough.
You are not a man enough. I mean, just to provoke you to do something shy or anything.
Of which is the bad thing. I understand. Because now umuntu believe ukuthi for her or for him ukuthi abe sharp, he must be violated.
There must be violence that must take place first.
Of which is something wrong. It's something out.
Mina ngifuna indoda ethambile mina. Ngifuna indoda mina ishayayo nje impama maqala ngiphuma endleleni yabona. And we laugh at those things. But when they happen, we cry gender-based violence.
Sure.
Understand? Yeah.
So of which is not a great thing, and
it's not. We cannot condone.
We cannot condone it. Yeah. And then let's see examples. You have some.
Yeah, and then ama effects, man.
Yeah.
Like people who went through trauma.
Sure.
Like see land generational in one. And I think that is also an effect.
Sure.
That if this thing is not dealt with, to understand, in a possibility of continuing itself,
sure.
then iba generational, you are generational traumatic experience. To understand,
sure.
Hence at some point you will find that your dad who went through abuse through his dad,
sure,
is now becoming an abuse to you. Understand? Now, your dad was once a victim, understand, of abuse. Now, when it is time to take over, remember, this is a person who've never dealt with. Who've never dealt with my issues. Now, he's passing on that thing. Understand?
Sure.
Which now we are abuse. Remember, now I'm sure I'm nothing. Right, like this thing. But as time goes, actually, how does it happen? Because this thing, if you don't deal with it, it builds in you. It becomes part of you. You understand? Was one also implement unexpectedly. Iba like this is the normal way of living.
Sure.
You understand?
True.
Now, any effect is that a victim.
Sure.
Abuse has a highest potential of becoming an abuser himself or herself to the ones that are going to come after them. Understand? So we need to also.
And sometimes there's some people who just hold back on abuse. But manga abuser I one, we hold her back to it to a point whereby ngeka report ngeka ikhulume. He'll just validate himself as if lo muntu lo yamthanda because abuser because amthanda. You see kunabanye bantu ukuthi it's very difficult from them to ukuthi baphume in a relationship, in abusive relationship, because they'll think ukuthi ne lo muntu yangithanda man makangishaya kanje yangithanda, only to find out ukuthi ne lo muntu yalimala to a point whereby abanye bagcina sebafile bagcina sebabulela.
This is the purpose person love. We love sikhuluma ngabo labo ukuthi abanye they enjoy being abused. Abanye it's men nabo.
True.
Saying ukuthi no, enough for me to prove that I love my woman. Like mina ngimshaya. To show ukuthi like ngiyamthanda like. Sure. And it's not a good thing. Understand? It's not a good thing. Being antisocial, Jayam.
Sure.
Being antisocial. This is one of the effects of childhood trauma. Being antisocial. Sometimes you go through an experience in your life.
Sure.
Yeah, like it can be anything. Can be rape,
sure.
For example. Understand? Like you spoke about rape earlier to say it makes our sisters by attract man to men.
Sure.
Understand? Sometimes not only to men but even society at large. Understand? Thola ukuthi umuntu like sekahlala phile endlini iqala kancane sting omunye umuntu uzumuza athi I'm not an outside person ngithanda ukuzihlalela nje endlini. Understand? Then you start to check ukuthi is it okay now
but I'm an introvert.
Yeah, but I'm an introvert. Maybe ntwana maybe we can say there is such a thing, understand? But there is also not be naive and try to really be critical to this thing. Which is it really it? Because it may happen that someone does an introvert, and that person has turned to become an introvert out of a situation.
Sure.
You understand? That maybe took place in his life or in her life. But
abanye thola like some introvert mhlambo ufukamelo macrit.
Young child, omunye ntwana
ufuna ukuthi you must always be here.
It's either endlini abafuna ukuthi ngaphandle. So I'm saying there are many traumatic experiences that take place. You can either be raped or you can either be like sikhuluma ngomalanzana area. Understand?
Sure.
Or you can even as a guy bangafuni phumela ngaphandle.
Sure.
Then that thing start to shape the way you behave in future. When I was one about like in fact not that I was one, but you cannot relate with people because from a very young age you were never exposed. So already your development as a person, it was affected. So all of the sudden you have this character now. Say Lord person is introverted. And you were not born maybe to be an introvert. You were born to be an extrovert. But because of circumstances that have shaped you, you are now becoming an anti-social person, which you always want to be indoors. Understand? You don't relate well with your neighbors. You don't relate well with your age group. And they being antisocial, remember, you don't only be like a pale. Sure. Like you can't even do teamwork. For example, you can't even enjoy working alone. Understand? And I'm saying, unfortunately, we're living our places where teamwork is very important. Yeah. Now you cannot do teamwork. Now when understand? Then we get surprised when we have such people themselves but why not behave so? So can't izinto eziqala mhlawumbe ukhule nazo zikushape. Then when you have to grow up now and be exposed and be responsible and think for yourself, you cannot really think for yourself. You start to think for yourself at the perspective of that child. You understand? You start to behave somehow what I want now one. Understand?
Sure.
Then or anything. Then you start to develop this anger now. Yeah. So it's also a very serious effect into an antisocial.
And even sometimes in our bringing.
Yeah.
In comparison. Let's say for example, when you share a Nike from top to down, and don't afford Mr. Price.
Sure.
You understand?
Sure.
Of which is sense to end up ungasafuna ukuya ngaphandle as you say abantu bathi introvert because now yazi mawuhlangana nabantu ngaphandle uthola ukuthi they match you ukuthi hey le ayingathi intsembu kudlula le. So that is le actually inbox yakushaya ikuvalela ngaphansi ukuthi okay actually mina kushuthi endlini yabancancanywa or abangithandi because now uthola ukuthi mhlambe impintshe yakho Nike wena ndoto shay Mr. Price and only to find out they are not affording. It's very difficult for you to accept the situation. You understand? Which leads on kwenza lawo ma trauma lawo so ugcina ukhuluna lento lokuzicompare as soon as usebenza so thola so ufuna ukwenzana ufuna ukuqala uyenza revenge
ufuna ukubuyela
le
okhavi score
sesizwa ngawo gcoka igushi phezulu kusuka phansi. You understand? You're no longer covering your values, but now into so you need to cover the score. I think sometimes you need to talk about it as we see most of blacks. This motion yokuskothan. I don't understand why does a person attending impasha to show off. Yeah. You understand? That thing because you are fortunate that Kotana in a way we can debate it maybe it was happening during our parents' days even in our generation it happened in the most extreme way where we saw abantu like you saw a person would rather like because that person wanted a certain thing, understand? And no was normal and do anything like end up stealing his intention. Just to see how it things now but I think we should make a topic your skills fashion and it's exposing sometimes because they like fashion because they're just showing off and sometimes it's very difficult for someone to show off then understand but
amanye ama-traumatic
We
experiences
understand.
lawo ntwana phela remember ukuthi it can happen that mhlambe there was a chick that you wanted.
Sure.
Do you understand? And manje akakuqomanga lo mntana and manje usala nawo this thing shite self-esteem yakho.
Sure.
And for you to come back, do you understand? At least mele ubugqoke smart ubonakala. So you try by all means to get whatever item of clothing that you want so that uzokwazi ukuimpress ale. Once that thing I told, it starts to hit you now.
True.
You understand? It starts to hit you with, "Hey, I cannot do this. I cannot impress in this level." You start and you'll do wrong things, or you'll do wrong things out of desperation now for you, because you are trying to impress. You don't wanna be left behind. You understand? Man just pillar, so don't wanna be left behind.
So basically, it's not easy to overcome trauma, and it doesn't happen in a day.
Yeah,
but
no, it's a process.
But fighting, it's better and worth it.
Yeah.
And it's possible rather than I give up.
Yeah.
You understand? But now we need to ask ourselves, how do you fight?
Yeah.
How do you create a better life out of trauma? You understand?
That's why in between you, you cannot heal.
Sure.
Do you understand? Actually, you can heal, but I think we need to be honest that healing, when it comes to this, it will
take time.
It's a process,
and sometimes
a very long time.
Yeah, and sometimes even family nowadays, it's no longer a matter of saying, you can trust them.
Yes,
I understand.
Yes.
And even close friends.
Yeah,
it's not a matter of saying you can trust them. I understand, because so I think it's more or less a point of running to maybe professional help, therapy, to get assisted by therapy or counseling, just expressing whatever feeling you have felt and accepting whatever experience you've gone through, and then dealing with it and moving on. Because sometimes we go back to things that traumatized us, and then we just leave there. We understand. So we need to at least, as soon as we move, try to get out of the situation and to move on with life. We understand. So we get stuck, Kakul, in the past to a point whereby it's very difficult for us to reach the future.
Yeah. In fact, Ntwana, we need to be clear when we talk about this, because Spileskathini Sabantu who will tell you to say, no man, there are many ways to deal with this or to cope with this thing. Do you understand?
Sure.
But we need to be honest that when it comes to this one, I could say there's only one way.
Sure.
Understand? That is to talk.
Sure.
There is only one way to deal with it. And talking, unfortunately, people want isn't fast.
Sure.
Understand? And you to talk about this thing, it's not gonna be a one-day thing. Then look, you need to talk. Firstly, the main people that you should talk to are therapy. To understand? That's how you deal with these traumatic experiences that took place in your life. But see, say for a person say for a person who is not exposed to this thing, let us also not discourage. Understand?
Accommodate them.
Sometimes into ebalekile ukukhuluma ntwana, even if you can talk to your parents, you talk to your friends, or the aim is to talk.
Even because moving, there's this thing yokuthi mhlambe umuntu aye to the temple and then you'll be talking to a pastor on this board and then
even strangers
confession, even strangers
as well. But I think every person in life needs a person that they can be close to, so that they can just talk about these things, because you'll find that trauma, it happens to almost everyone. You understand? It's just that there are so many events that can take place in our lives as individuals, differently so, as a child differently as well. True. So we need to talk about those things. Even with your partner, sometimes I think we should put it as one of the main important things that we need to talk about. Understand? While you are still going on dates, you should check with your partner or your potential partner to say, okay, what are your childhood traumas?
Sure.
Do you understand?
Sure.
So that no matter what, I'm fine, I'm not going through anything.
But it even goes to a deeper point because sometimes we tell you these traumas, if they're not dealt with, they have a way of living through a family.
They always.
And they have a way of growing through a family.
They always.
I understand. Uthola ukuthi mhlambe lento le yayihlupha umalume awuzange adile ngayo malume lento kushayana so seyikhuphuka seyingenaphi kumshana. I understand. Umshana sekashaya bathi ne ufuza umalume. I understand. So that's why amazulu bathi pelepele umdala uyavuka egqokweni. So some of the things we don't need to run away from them. It's rather sort them because monga soti they're gonna affect someone else is in the long run and in the future.
Sometimes Donna you listen to like, and it's another way. I think artists, they become more creative because they express their traumatic experiences through maybe their music. Understand? Like abanye you'll find them writing books. Understand? In a way, they are expressing their traumatic. They are talking. Understand? They are talking. So they find healing through doing those things. But majority of us, we need to seek help. We need to seek professional help. If you don't afford professional help, look. Find somebody close to you. Talk to that person. You cannot tell me that Agnamonto in life that you're not close to. Understand? Even if you're there's not that person. Talk to a tree. Understand? But the most important thing is to let that thing out and you need to talk about it. Talk about it until it becomes a joke. Understand? So that you can know that okay, now I have healed. Because we need to talk about these things. These things, they are destroying us and they will destroy our future generations to come. You understand? We are living in a world where alcohol abuse is very high now. Drugs. We are living in a world where even the way we are changing our sexual partners. Understand? Like it's not normal. Even the way we are committing suicide is not normal. We are a generation that is going through the most, and we are a generation that we need to talk. That is just a simple thing. We need to talk. We need to start to express ourselves. We need to not hold back that thing. We need to express it. I would see into it says Pumela ngenkani because it says Pumela ngenkani. This why ubona sekumosheka kanje sesenza noma yini because siyagula ngaphakathi.
We're dying.
So there is no any other way. There is no any other better way.
We're dying and usibuza ukuthi if we dying thina abantwana bethu bazoba njani.
Uyangithwala?
You understand? If we dying
abantwana bethu bazoba worse. Understand? So kuba into ezincane nje. We need to be open up.
I think even the technology is cooler. It becomes a problem also because now there's no longer attachment when it comes to family. There's no accent you can have just that bond phone.
Busy
my phone. You understand?
You've created your own family,
which is called neglect. You understand? Because now you feel that I land in a environment of talking. You understand? You end up now solar.
Everyone in life needs somebody to talk to.
True.
And we should start there, man. We should start there in order for us to heal. Sishawa izinto eziningi la ngaphandle. Sisha differently. Maningi ntwana ama traumatic experience that we should have went through that we did not go. Maningi. Even if we can go through them, we weren't even going to finish.
Yes.
Because maningi. We just touched yabona lezi is common.
I think we've said a mouthful,
Your crime,
we've said
abuse at home, abuse, like those are just the common ones. But there are actually so many of them, And people need to talk about these things. You can think that something it's just nothing, but you'll find that actually that is the thing that really affected your childhood and now is shaping the way you behave as you're growing.
Sure.
Yeah.
This was our topic, childhood traumas.
Yeah.
How we've said
trauma affect health across a lifetime.
True.
Yeah.
That's it. I think we've said a mouthful, eh? I just want to do a closure. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, engage also into our topic. By all means, you can also give us advices. You can also give us your views of this topic. We just say we're just trying to create a greater environment and a good environment for the coming future children and youth. So basically, it was a lesson that we've brought. You can also add into it. Tuana.
Yeah. No, thanks for giving us your time. Thanks for giving us. Please, it's not only about watching and listening, but your comments as well. Your inputs are very. You
can also bring important. Up the topics you'd like us to talk about.
Even topics. You can also bring topics that you'd like for us to talk about. Remember, not as we talk here, like we said, we're not expect. We're just offering our own perspectives on things. Do you understand? So now you are coming with the way we see things. So please feel free to criticize us. Feel free to engage with us. Asiko right in everything. We're just sharing the way we see things. So let us talk. Manga pele lana. My club again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.